Korea right. K-culture is sweeping the globe. K-pop, K-drama, K-movie, K-food, and even K-beauty. Korean cultural content is gaining more and more fans worldwide. It's indeed the golden age of K-culture. But with this growing interest comes an increase in misinformation about Korea. There's so much inaccurate information out there. Even AI can sometimes get it wrong. So, we must set things straight and correct all the misinformation. So here's the plan. The Voluntary Agency Network of Korea, VANK, and Arirang TV present the Get Korea Right project. Our goal is to provide accurate information on important keywords that come to mind when we think of Korea. Blatant errors and false claims that distort history. It's time to set the record straight, sharing the true history and culture of Korea while raising the national brand. Let's get started with Get Korea Right. Are you ready to join? By Generation MZ, for Generation MZ, News Generation. We explore the most talked about issues among MZers. Beyond the panel, we exchange diverse viewpoints with people behind the screen. Where the voices of the MZ generation connect through shared understanding. News Generation. Special untold narratives of diplomacy, diplomats' archives, hidden stories. Through historical materials, we discover new dimensions in international cooperation and highlight moments of mutual exchange with embassies from around the world. We reflect on the value of history that transcends borders. Capturing various cultural scenes across Korea. One day, one K-culture. K-trend, K-people, K-story, and even K-stage. We experience everyday moments together, talk about life stories, and meet fascinating works and creative performances up close. Tune in for daily episodes packed with the charm of K-culture. A stage where sound comes alive. I'm live. In a space without barriers, experience the moment when artists and audience become one through music. Each performance, conveying the musician's originality, reaches the audience vividly through headphones. Immerse in the energy and flow of music on I'm Live.
도시는 세계와 연결되어 문화를 창조했고 새로운 것을 받아들였다.
함께여서 우리는 더 자유롭고 더 멀리 갈 수 있어.
닫힌 문이 아니라 열린 질문으로.
나에게 에이펙은
자유,
융합,
국제성,
다양성, 포용,
개발.
신라의 정신이 에이펙 2025로 이어집니다.
welcome to our morning edition of Arirang News. We begin with these stories making the headlines at this hour. U.S. President Donald Trump struck a softer tone on China amid concerns of a new trade war. He now says the United States does not seek to harm China, but to help it. Israelis and Palestinians now await a hostage prisoner swap, as all of the living hostages in Gaza and Palestinian detainees in Israel are expected to be released on Monday morning, local time. At South Korea's National Assembly, the first audit under the Lee Jae-myung administration is set to kick off today, and it's expected to become a political battleground. Eyes are now on whether Chief Justice Cho Lee-dae, who faces allegations of election interference, will appear for questioning. We begin this morning with trade tensions between the world's two largest economies. U.S. President Donald Trump seems to be extending an olive branch to China's Xi Jinping after he threatened to impose higher tariffs on Beijing. Trump said neither he nor Xi Jinping wants their countries to face a recession. Our Lee Seung-jae starts us off.
Amid rising concerns that the United States and China could reignite a trade war through ultra-high tariffs and export controls, U.S. President Donald Trump struck a notably softer tone on Sunday. According to Trump, the U.S. does not seek to harm China, but to help it. His remarks came just 2 days after he announced a 100% tariff in response to China's rare earth export controls and hinted at boycotting a face-to-face meeting with Chinese President Xi Jinping at the upcoming APEC summit. Trump also took to Truth Social to note that neither he nor Chinese President Xi Jinping wants a recession. Meanwhile, U.S. Vice President J.D. Vance spoke to Fox News on Sunday and expressed hope that Beijing will choose a rational path, stressing that the U.S. president holds far more cards than China. Vance also said he had spoken with Trump over the weekend, noting Trump's appreciation for the relationship with China, but emphasizing the significant leverage Washington holds. U.S. Trade Representative Jamieson Greer criticized China's rare earth export controls, revealing that Washington was not notified in advance, despite Beijing's claims. Greer said that Washington learned through public sources and immediately contacted China, but Beijing deferred taking the call. Greer stressed that power plays by China will not be tolerated. Still, Greer left the door open for dialogue, noting that the U.S. has already made working-level contact with China and will wait to see if Beijing is interested in high-level talks to ease tensions. The latest developments suggest Washington is preparing for both pressure and diplomacy, with the next steps likely hinging on China's response ahead of the APEC summit later this month. Lee Seung-jae, Arirang News.
So as we just heard, the United States is trying to tame trade tensions with China after the Trump administration threatened to impose an additional 100% tariff on goods from China on top of the 30% tariffs already in effect starting in November. For more on this, we're joined today by Hwa-kyun Kim, professor of banking and finance at Texas A&M University Mays Business School. Professor Kim, thanks for joining us this morning.
Thank you for the invite.
So Trump previously said he was going to meet China's Xi in 2 weeks at APEC here in South Korea, but then said there seems to be no reason to do so. How do you think this trade war will play out?
So after a few months of relatively calm, I think this exchange, beginning with China's rare earth restriction, followed by the Trump's the tariff announcement, clearly have reignited the fears and possibility of a full-scale trade war again. And while it is not so clear why China puts this export restrictions on rare earth while in trade talks with the U.S., and President Trump actually was saying something positive before, and so but we can conjecture that either China is not getting enough on what it wants, or China thinks that it wants something else after it realizes that the U.S. farmers are pressing the U.S. government for the reduced sales of soybeans and things like that. So maybe the China thinks that their bargaining power is a bit stronger. So we don't know. So both possibilities actually exist. And then the Trump's the wavering on the meeting with Xi obviously fuels more uncertainty. So I think still the leaders might meet briefly at the APEC summit, but the Trump's public sort of ambiguity and China's own rather unpredictable stance imply that significant de-escalation is not so likely unless we see some major diplomatic breakthrough for the next week or something. So clearly there's a chance that this type of the tug of war or tit for tat type of situation can continue. But then I think, as you also saw from the news headline, that the President Trump actually just posted that don't worry about China, and then it's going to be fine, we will talk. So I guess clearly the President Trump is trying to continue this talk. So I think there's some possibility that some de-escalation is going to happen, but at this stage, it is going to be full-scale uncertainty until China responds back with what it wants.
Right, and just because of those uncertainties that you just mentioned, U.S. stocks and cryptocurrency markets plunged on Friday, and the S&P 500 actually declined the most since April last week. Do you expect this trend to continue for the time being?
I mean, of course, there's always difficulty in predicting stock returns or the crypto, but obviously the stock price, the S&P 500 or these tech stocks and also cryptos have been going up a lot, I think. So the investors actually were trying to find excuses to liquidate some or just, get some of the money out of these trades. So I think this was kind of giving good sort of like source for them to, liquidate some of their profits. So I think it kind of has some good coincidence, but I don't think this is going to be having a very prolonged or persistent effects at this stage, because some of the earnings announcements will be made in the next few weeks, and there are many sources saying that the AIs and things like that have been pretty helpful in terms of the earnings. So I don't think this is going to be really likely, but the uncertainty always plays out, in both ways, and there's a chance that it could actually have persistent effects. Having said that, I think if you look at the Dow Jones or S&P 500 and NASDAQ futures as of now, after the President Trump actually posted this somewhat positive, the tones, the stock futures actually jumped up and rebounded. So I guess if the political uncertainty is going to have a little, less, then I think, the stock's going to just rebound back.
Right, and while that's happening in the United States, the European Union also said it'll cut its annual tariff-free steel import quota by 47% and double the tariff rate on imports exceeding the quota to 50%. How might this impact the steel industry in South Korea and perhaps other countries?
So clearly, South Korea is one of the big exporters of these steel, the rolled steels and things like that, to European Union. European Union itself is having big difficulty with the U.S. in terms of tariff talks and trade talks. I mean, although it's a bit less compared to Asian countries. So I guess together with their own difficulty of handling the trade situation with the U.S., I think the European Union is also kind of putting these protective measures on their own industries. There have been some complaints from local steel the makers in Europe, especially competing with the Asian exporters. They're mostly, of course, the China, but also I think the Turkey, and then also the Korea and India. So I think they think that the European Union thinks that this is kind of the good times to handle this kind of things so that they can handle their own local makers' complaints, and also they try to do something similar as the U.S. does, so that they just put some protective measures. So obviously it's going to have negative impacts to South Korean steel makers. So at this stage, together with the big hit from the U.S. side of the steel the restrictions, for the time being, it's going to have a negative impacts on the South Korean steel makers.
I see. And as for South Korean stocks, Samsung Electronics shares have been on a rally recently, but a U.S. federal jury has now ordered Samsung to pay $445.5 million in damages for infringing on patents related to wireless network technology held by an American firm. How significant is this ruling on Samsung, and what kind of impact might this have?
I think this one was somewhat similar one actually happened, I think, in 2023 also, if I remember correctly. So I think this has been going on by these, the patent sort of like, the firms who always try to just attack like, big tech firms such as Samsung or Apple and other, the cell phone makers, the smartphone makers. So to me itself is not going to have a huge impact, and also the amount is not like gargantuan. But still, I think this is like a important operational risk and also the legal side of the risk. So I think the Samsung's compliance team and legal team actually really has to handle this, because if it continues to do this, then other, the patent type of the firms that always just tend to attack these firms will also just, have like coalitions and just keep attacking. And that I think is very bad. So my just, 2 cents would be, it's not like, having really big impacts, but I think if you look at like the long horizon in terms of the operational risk or the legal risk side, I think Samsung really has to pay attention to this type of the small side of the risk.
Right, we'll have to see how that goes. All right, Professor Kim, thank you so much for your time and insight today. We appreciate it.
My pleasure.
And over in the Middle East, as the first phase of the ceasefire agreement between Israel and Hamas takes effect, hostages are set to be released today. Meanwhile, U.S. President Donald Trump has departed for a visit to Israel before traveling to Egypt for a world leaders summit on ending the Gaza war. Our An Sung-jin has the details.
Ahead of the set release on Monday of Israeli hostages held by Hamas, large crowds including families of the hostages have gathered in Tel Aviv for the anticipated return.
We're very thrilled about this. And then on the other hand, for us, for the families of the murdered hostages, there's a lot of anxiety.
The ceasefire deal demands the return of all hostages taken captive during the Hamas attack on October 7, 2023. 20 hostages are believed to be alive, and Hamas is also to hand over the remains of 28 dead hostages. Trump, who put forth the agreement, has departed for Israel, and when asked how confident that the war was finished, he told reporters that the war is over and that the deal will hold as he sets to seal the agreement.
This is the first time everybody is amazed and they're thrilled, and it's an honor to be involved.
Trump is due to arrive in Israel on Monday to address the Israeli parliament before heading to Egypt for a world leaders summit on ending the Gaza war. The first phase agreement between Israel and Hamas had been mediated by the United States, Egypt, Qatar, and Turkey for the release of the Israeli hostages as well as Palestinian prisoners held by Israel. But despite the ceasefire, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu warned that military operations were not over yet.
The battle is not over. There are still very serious security challenges ahead. Some of our enemies are trying to recover so they can attack us again.
Meanwhile, Gaza's Civil Defense Agency noted that more than 500,000 people have returned to parts of northern Gaza after the ceasefire was declared. An Sung-jin, Arirang News.
Meanwhile, here in South Korea, a day after a high-level government meeting addressed rising house prices in the Seoul and Gyeonggi-do regions, attention now turns to the National Assembly, where the first audit under the Lee Jae-myung administration is set to begin today. Our political correspondent Moon Il-yeon has the details.
The new administration's first National Assembly audit kicks off on Monday, just a day after top officials met to discuss housing market instability and broader economic issues. During Sunday's meeting at the Prime Minister's official residence, the ruling Democratic Party government and presidential office agreed to unveil new measures this week to curb the overheated housing market in Seoul and Gyeonggi-do province. A senior spokesperson said that both sides acknowledge the need for fundamental and comprehensive solutions to safeguard housing security and restore economic stability. That same meeting also set the tone for Monday's parliamentary audit, with the ruling bloc calling for the normalization of state affairs and the recovery of public livelihoods. But from the outset, the audit sessions are expected to become political battlegrounds. 17 standing committees will examine more than 800 government agencies through October to early November, covering both the previous Yoon Suk-yeol administration and the current government's 4 months in power. The Legislation and Judiciary Committee opened first with a contentious review of the Supreme Court. The Democratic Party plans to question Chief Justice Choi over alleged election interference and has warned there'll be a compulsory attendance order if he refuses to appear. The People Power Party is pushing back, calling such demands a violation of judicial independence and a threat to the separation of powers. Later this week, the Science and ICT Committee is expected to debate the arrest of former Korea Communications Commission Chair Lee Jin-suk and the government's plan to abolish the agency altogether. Beyond domestic politics, lawmakers are also preparing to address the death of a Korean student in Cambodia, an issue both parties say underscores the need for stronger protection of citizens abroad. With the audit set to run for nearly a month, Monday marks the start of a heated session where political accountability and policy oversight will collide. 문혜련, Arirang News.
South Korean police are ramping up their response to a surge in crimes targeting Koreans in Cambodia. The Korean National Police Agency announced on Sunday it will hold a bilateral meeting with Cambodian police on the 23rd in Seoul to sign an MOU for the establishment of a Korean desk and discuss dispatching Korean officers. The Korean desk is a system where Korean police are stationed overseas to work directly with local authorities on crimes involving Koreans. Authorities say the new Korean desk will improve cooperation and strengthen their ability to respond to organized multinational crime groups operating in Cambodia. Calls to send additional Korean police officers on top of those attached to the embassy have intensified after a Korean college student was allegedly tortured to death in Cambodia in August. Meanwhile, in North Korea, the regime's leader Kim Jong-un expressed his gratitude to participants of the mass celebrations marking the 80th anniversary of the founding of the Workers' Party. The North State Media Korean Central News Agency announced on Monday that during Kim's speech delivered on Sunday while attending the Grand Mass Gymnastics and Artistic Performance, he praised the efforts of the people that demonstrated the resilience and strength of the state. He further added his deep appreciation for those who fulfilled their role during the celebration despite unfavorable weather. Kim's remarks seem to be aimed at boosting internal unity by acknowledging such contributions amid his recent diplomatic engagements.
Good morning, I'm Chu Ji-hyun, and this is The World Now. In France, newly reappointed Prime Minister Sébastien Lecornu has announced a new government, his second such in a week, as he tries to steady the country after days of political chaos and rebuild confidence in France's economy. The 39-year-old centrist and ally of President Emmanuel Macron presented the cabinet on Sunday, a mix of Macron's loyalists, moderate conservatives, and figures from outside politics. Lecornu was reappointed on Friday after resigning earlier in the week after his first government collapsed within hours of formation. The new cabinet faces a fractured parliament where Macron's centrist bloc has lost its majority. The right-wing National Rally is demanding new elections while the left-wing France Unbowed wants the president to resign. Economists say Lecornu's first test will be delivering a credible 2026 budget to ease market jitters as France's debt climbs above 110% of GDP. Analysts warn that without stability, investor confidence could erode further across Europe. And in the United States, police in South Carolina are searching for a gunman who killed 4 people and injured at least 20 others after opening fire at a crowded bar on St. Helena Island, about 40 kilometers south of Charleston. The shooting happened around 2 a.m. Sunday at a local bar. Witnesses say a fight broke out before the subject started firing indiscriminately. According to the Beaufort County Sheriff's Office, several victims remain in critical condition. U.S. Representative Nancy Mace took to social media to say she was, quote, completely heartbroken by the shooting. Gun control advocates say it underscores America's unrelenting gun violence crisis, with more than 500 mass shootings recorded this year. U.S. Vice President J.D. Vance has warned that more layoffs are coming if the government shutdown continues, saying, quote, "The longer this goes on, the deeper the cuts will be." The shutdown, now in its third week, has left hundreds of thousands without pay and forced thousands of federal layoffs, including at the CDC. Officials later reinstated about 700 workers after they said some notices were sent in error. The standoff, meanwhile, began on October 1st over health insurance subsidies in the budget. Oscar-winning actress Diane Keaton has died aged 79. According to People magazine, the star of Annie Hall, the movie for which she won the Oscar for Best Actress in 1978, died in California on Sunday. A spokesperson for her family said there were no further details but asked for privacy. Keaton also starred in a range of Hollywood classics in a career spanning 5 decades, from The Godfather to Something's Gotta Give. Known for her trademark hats, men's suits, and witty dialogue delivery, she brought both warmth and quirk to the screen. Tributes are pouring in from across Hollywood, including former co-star Goldie Hawn, who took to social media to say, quote, "You've left us with a trail of fairy dust filled with particles of light and memories beyond imagination."
For many of you returning to work after a long Chuseok holiday, it surely will feel like a long and busy week. The new week starts with more rain, which has been falling across the central regions of the country. Those rain clouds will gradually expand, reaching the southern coast later this afternoon, then make their way to Jeju tomorrow. And east of Gangwon-do province could see 120 millimeters of downpours. The capital region will get 10 to 50 millimeters. The clouds and rain will certainly keep a lid on our daytime temperatures. The capital area will not see much difference in temperatures, but t-shirt weather continues on Jeju with a record-breaking October warmth. Further south, we'll have much warmer daytime highs with lesser precipitation, topping out at 26 degrees in Gwangju and Busan this afternoon. Now make sure to keep your umbrella handy. Rain is in the forecast for the entire week. Then we're jumping right into late autumn once all the rain goes away.
Now that is all we have for this morning. Arirang News will be back at noon Korea time. Thanks for watching.
How to survive in Korea. Workplace. Step 1. Lunchtime. The most important morning routine is to check today's menu. Food is essential for survival. Memorize today's menu. The highlight of office life. Lunchtime. Rice in the bottom left, soup in the bottom right. The top is for the sides. The sauce and the spoon go here. This is the basic layout, but it's a bit odd to switch rice and soup. When you're done, pour the leftovers into the soup bowl. It doesn't look that appetizing, so wait until others are done eating. Step 2. Neng, nep, nenep. These are the most used expressions at work. Choose the most appropriate form. Neng, nep, nenep. Remember that the formal ne can sound a bit stiff. Did you just say yes? Absolutely not acceptable. You want to find the right word for the right occasion. Step 3. Desteria. Desteria is the oasis in the desert. Show them your character. If you're not the diligent type, get a stooky plant. Work is tough. Laugh and the whole world laughs with you. Weep and you weep alone. Stay put, like the stooky that survives in the desert. Hang in there until the end. Of course, you can always quit. You matter more than anything else. Step 4. Survival kit. Every worker needs a survival kit. Survival kit level 1. This position gets the most exposure. Grab one when you need a sugar boost. Always keep a few treats you can offer your co-workers. Survival kit level 2. These are for hunger pangs before and after a meal. You'll need them when you take a coffee break with your office buddies. Survival kit level 3. Trash talking your boss with your soulmate. Did you survive in the workplace? Office romance? Be careful. Even the photocopier knows all the gossip.
우와. 와, 엄청 크다. 엄청 크네. 태권도 원! 하! 하! 아직까지는 쉽네. 잠깐만. 너 안 쉬워. 오! 힘드는데?
held its first debate over the weekend.
The economy is expected to expand 2.5% this year.
Boosting Korea's ties with its global partners on the sidelines of the status UN summit. It's a massive drone attack on Ukraine overnight on Monday and Tuesday.
Arirang.
We're here to bring a new type of news show.
New insights, new styles, and new topics every day.
We are News Generation.
Bringing news just for you. It's Monday, October 13th here in Seoul. I'm Isujin, and this is News Generation. Joining us today is Niall.
Happy Monday.
Happy Monday. Also, Moonji's with us.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks for coming in. And both are here to speak on behalf of people in their 20s and 30s. So it's Monday. We're kicking off another work week, and it's at the start of a new week. Let's dive right into a story that's been stirring up a lot of discussion here in Korea. So for years, tattoos have been somewhat of a gray area in Korean society, popular among younger generations and in pop culture, but still facing social stigma and strict regulations. Now a new law has been passed that could change the landscape for both tattoo artists and people who want to get ink. So now, can you break down what this new law says and why it's garnering so much attention?
Right. This past September, the Tattoo Act passed the National Assembly's plenary session, legalizing tattoo procedures by non-medical practitioners for the first time in 33 years. In 1992, the Supreme Court had ruled that tattooing was a medical practice, making non-medical tattoo procedures punishable by law. However, after more than a decade of efforts to legalize it, the bill has finally been passed.
Right. So, Moonju, why do you think this is generating so much buzz, though?
Yeah, tattooing in South Korea has traditionally been restricted to licensed medical professionals, making it effectively illegal for most tattoo artists. Despite this, the tattoo industry has grown continuously, with the Ministry of Health and Welfare estimating around 3 million tattooed individuals as of last year. The rise of tattoos among celebrities and K-pop idols have helped normalize body art, especially among younger generations. As public attitudes shift and demand remains strong, the issue of legalizing tattooing has become increasingly prominent, sparking widespread debate and interest.
Right, so that's also a striking contrast. On one hand, Korea has maintained one of the strictest legal stances on tattoos, yet, like you said, millions of people still have this. It really highlights how public demand has outpaced regulation, why lawmakers felt the need to address this issue. So let's also take a look at the screen to learn more. Tattoos have long served as a way for people to commemorate special moments, express themselves, or simply make a fashion statement. In South Korea, while tattoos are not uncommon, offering tattoo services has been restricted to medical professionals, even though most of the industry has been run by non-medical practitioners. Today on News Generation, we'll take a closer look at why non-medical tattooing has long been illegal, how perceptions of tattoos have shifted, particularly among the younger generations, and what the recent legalization of tattoo regulations could mean for the industry moving forward. So as we just saw in the video, tattooing in Korea has long been a legal gray area, allowed for medical professionals but off limits to everyone else. But in reality, the vast majority of tattoo artists are not doctors, and the industry continues to thrive underground. Despite tattoos becoming more mainstream, embraced by K-pop stars, athletes, and the younger generations, the law hadn't caught up with the social change. So for decades, non-medical tattoos are operating kind of a legal limbo, facing the risk of fines or prosecuted simply for practicing their craft. So why was that the case? What were the main reasons behind such strict regulations in Korea, Niall?
Right. The tattoo industry has long voiced its concerns, but the difficulty in passing the law largely stemmed from the deeply rooted social perceptions about tattoos. In Korea, tattoos are less common than in other countries and are often viewed negatively. And since the 1980s, tattoos have been culturally associated with gang members, criminals, and other antisocial figures, reinforcing that negative image.
So it's interesting to see how culture factors shaped the way tattoos were viewed in Korea. Unlike in many other countries, tattoos became associated with criminal groups, which fueled this continuing long-standing stigma. And it really helps explain why passing legislation was such a challenge despite the industry's persistence. So do you know of any other reasons, Minju?
Yeah, one of the other reasons could be, in traditional Korean society, which Confucian values are deeply rooted, altering one's body was considered as a sanctioned behavior, as the body was seen as a gift from your parents. And also respecting elders and adhering to their guidance was, a strong cultural norm here in South Korea, especially in the past days. And most parents held negative views toward the tattoos. So as a result, there was an unspoken consensus that tattoos were undesirable, and the sentiment has subtly shaped, the public attitudes. So naturally, even today, many Koreans seem to carry a lingering sense of discomfort towards tattoos. Yeah.
I think you made a really important point there. So cultural values, like we said, Confucian emphasis on respecting the body given by one's parents clearly influence attitudes towards tattoos for generations. But we've seen that perception of tattoos has been shifting, especially among the younger generations. So how have attitudes changed among millennials and Gen Zs in particular, Niall?
Right. Statistics show that perceptions of tattoos vary greatly by age group. And let's take a look at this graph. According to a survey by Hanguk Research, attitude towards tattoos in Korea varies significantly by age group. Amongst those aged 18 to 19, 63% held positive or neutral views of tattoos, while 37% viewed them negatively. In 30s to 39 age group, opinions were more divided, with 48% expressing positive or neutral perceptions and 52% holding negative views. And now, amongst people aged 60 and older, 71% viewed tattoos negatively, while only 29% had a positive or neutral perception. And many young people express their individuality through tattoos and hand-poke tattoos, which have become a new thing, which resemble drawings made with crayons. They've become especially popular here in Korea. People often get tattoos to symbolize something or someone personally very meaningful to them. And I was told to tell my personal story of how I got my tattoo. I grew up in North Africa, and they have these amazigh tattoos, which are traditionally done with hand-poking methods on your face and hands and neck. And while I have jobs here in Korea, I thought it would be a little difficult to find them if I got a face tattoo, so I have it on my back, where I rarely see it either. So.
Real quick, what's the difference between like hand-poke tattoos and like normal tattoo pens?
Right, so they have these machines that they use, and traditionally when they did not have these machines, they would actually hand poke them with needles and put ink in it by hand. And so that is the biggest difference. And in terms of style, it seems a little more rough around the edges, but I think that's kind of the beauty of it as well. There's more natural beauty to the hand poke tattoos.
I see. So the stats clearly show that younger people are much more open to tattoos, using them to express individuality or commemorate something meaningful like Niall did. It's also interesting to hear your own example. So I'm curious, what role have celebrities played in shaping how tattoos are perceived in Korea? We've seen this influence with fashion and other trends. Is it similar when it comes to tattoos, Minju?
Yeah, it is definitely. Celebrities have played a key role in shifting public perception of tattoos. And here in South Korea, figures like BTS's Jungkook, G-Dragon, or J Park have openly showcased their tattoos, helping normalize body art among fans and even the general public. Even aespa's Karina have worn stockings designed to resemble fashion tattoos, blurring the line between the style and the ink. These days, people can experiment tattoo with the tattoo stickers without committing to the permanent ink. Actress Han So-hee is well known for frequently using this, which has helped ease discomfort around tattoos and made them more approachable for a wider audience. Personally, I've also often thought of, getting a hidden tattoo, but the fear of me regretting later, it kind of hesitated me from getting it. But now that I know that there is a tattoo sticker, I might want to enjoy it someday. Yeah.
Do you know what design you would like to have?
Like stars or moons, like where I could have it in a cute way. I think that could be very nice to have it, yeah.
I feel like that's a classic. And to also get a closer look at how the tattoo industry is evolving, we'll be speaking with an expert from the field. So that conversation is coming up right after the break, so stay tuned.
NewsGen wants to hear from you. Go to YouTube and search out channel Arirang News. Click Posts and cast your vote in the poll. Make a new type of news with us.
We're joined today by Julie Kim, a tattoo artist originally from Korea who's currently living in Texas. So hi, Julie. Thank you so much for connecting with us today.
Hi, thanks for having me here today.
So what are your personal thoughts on the legalization of non-medical tattooing?
So first of all, when I heard this news, I was actually really happy and excited for me and also all the tattoo artists in Korea, because as you guys mentioned, over 30 years, tattooing without medical license was illegal. So a lot of tattoo artists were living under fear because we didn't have any legal protections. So there's some customer used that law against us and treated us like criminals, and we could go to jails and stuff like that. So finally, this law passing that gives a protections that all the tattoo artists needed. So we're really grateful. And also, this law passing is just not about passing the law. I felt like Korea was finally invalidating all the tattoo artists in Korea. That is a professional job, and accepting this is creative industry needed to be accepted. But I did have one concern about this tattoo law passing is because there's a lot of tattoo artists who's been tattooing in the industry for many years. But what if they don't pass the test? And that means they will lose their job, they will lose their career and livelihood. So I was thinking hopefully government can provide fair and flexible system that could see the artist's experience and skills as well.
Wow, thank you so much for that deep insight about how you wish to see a tattoo industry evolving here in Korea. Do you feel that the younger generation's perceptions of tattoos have changed? If so, how?
I think it's definitely shifting into positive directions. Like you guys mentioned, like social media and celebrities having a tattoo. So younger generation will see that and won't think tattoos are scary or rebellious anymore. Because I used to go out in public and people used to give me a look and stare because I do have quite a bit of tattoos on my body. But nowadays, when I go onto public, I see a lot of people actually have a tattoos. So that made me think like, oh, finally, Korea have a lot of people are accepting this as a creative and beautiful. And also, I think a lot of people are seeing a tattoo as a different direction, as like they could cover up their insecurities, like scars or birthmark, or even create something they don't have anymore, like a breast cancer patients as well. So I think tattoo culture in Korea is shifting into very positive directions.
Yeah, I do agree with you. In other ways, how do you hope the culture and perception of tattoos in Korea will change in the future?
I think the tattoo culture in Korea will grow very, very big, like K-drama, K-pop, or K-beauty, because Korean tattoo has a very specific style, which is very small but very detailed and also very cute. So I think in the future, a lot of foreigners will want to come to Korea just to get tattoos. So it will impact very positive in Korea. And also, hopefully in the future, they will have like tattoo festival, conventions, or competitions. So tattoo culture can be celebrated amongst all the people.
So your mention of festivals makes me really excited to see how the tattoo culture will evolve in Korea as well. So thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you.
Thank you for having me.
So we just heard from someone in the industry about how tattoos are evolving in Korea. We also touched upon how celebrities and social media have influenced public perceptions, helping tattoos gain visibility and a sense of mainstream appeal right here in Korea. But this makes me wonder, Niall, how are tattoos perceived in other countries?
Right. I mean, the meaning of tattoos vary greatly across different cultures, and in some countries, tattoos are considered sacred or a symbol of cultural pride. And as I mentioned personally, like in North Africa, where I came from, it's actually a history of long tradition. And in other parts like Europe and United States, where personal freedom and individuality are highly valued, tattoos generally aren't seen as a major issue, but a creative personal expression.
Right, I've noticed the same thing. I've lived abroad as well. In countries like tattoos are seen as sacred or a source of cultural pride. While in places like Europe or in the U.S., they're often just a form of personal expression. They don't carry much stigma. So it really highlights how culture and society values shape how tattoos are perceived. So Moonju, do you know of any other cases where culture difference influenced how young people in different countries perceive tattoos?
Yeah, in the United States, it's common to see Gen Z sharing stories on social media about regretting tattoos they got on impulse or just because of following the trends, highlighting just how widespread the tattoo culture has been in the United States. And Japan, on the other hand, has taken a more conservative approach as South Korea did. Legal recognition of tattooing only came in recent years, partly due to its long-standing association with the Yakuza, which has shaped public perception for decades.
So far, we've explored how tattoos are viewed in Korea, from being traditionally stigmatized to gaining popularity among the younger generations. We've also looked at how perceptions differ across cultures. In some countries, tattoos are embraced as a form of self-expression or cultural pride, while in others, they remain closely linked to a social taboo. So this contrast really shows how attitudes towards tattoos are shaped by history, tradition, and social norms. We wanted to hear directly from the public, so we asked our audience on the Arirang News YouTube channel, what is your perception of tattoos? So let's take a look at some of the responses here. So more than half of respondents, about 55%, said they view tattoos as a form of self-expression. Around 30%, however, said that people with tattoos make them feel uncomfortable, while the remaining 15% shared other opinions. So it seems that the majority now view tattoos as a form of self-expression, something that allows people to showcase their individuality or commemorate meaningful moments. So this really reflects what we've been discussing about how perceptions of tattoos have evolved, especially among the younger generations, and how social media and celebrities have helped normalize them here in Korea. So even though tattooing by non-medical professionals has now been legalized, it's still a topic of debate right now. So what exactly is fueling the controversy now?
Right. I mean, as in many societies, there's different opinions, but Korea is generally quite conservative. So the recent rise in no tattoo zones has definitely sparked controversy. Such restrictions are most common in places like swimming pools and gyms, where people argue that large or prominent tattoos can create a sense of discomfort or unease.
So it looks like things will take some time. So Moonju, are there any other aspects of tattooing that are still a topic of debate?
Yeah, another major one would be, on South Korean terrestrial TV, tattoo exposure is still regulated, and which means many celebrities have to cover their tattoos with the tape or the clothing when appearing on the screen. And this policy has sparked ongoing debate, with opinions divided over whether such restrictions are outdated or is it necessary for maintaining broadcast standards.
So we've looked at the legalization of tattooing by non-medical professionals and how perceptions of tattoos are changing here. So to wrap up our discussion today, what do you think will change in the tattoo industry and culture as a result of this new law, Niall?
Yeah, I think Julie mentioned a lot of it already, but Korean tattoo artists have already been gaining this reputation outside of Korea amongst tattoo fanatics, with their delicate style, maybe a little cute and sometimes just very beautiful. And with this legalization, I believe more Koreans will also be open to the idea of it. And it certainly has changed a lot in the past 10 years. And while I do think some of it is a little bit of a trend, I think when people find deeper meaning of self-expression with tattoos, it will be definitely a lasting form of art.
So what about you, Moonju?
Yeah, I do completely agree with Naya and also with Julie. The Korean wave has reached its peak, like including K-pop, K-dramas, K-films, K-beauty even, and they are leading a global industry and also the conversations. And I think there is no reason that the tattoo can't be. Korea is home to many highly artistic tattoo artists, and thus I think their work has the potential to gain international recognition and influence, just like other aspects of Korean culture.
I think you can also see online, like, people getting tattoos of different celebrities and stuff like that. So it's kind of interesting to see, like, do you look forward to maybe getting a tattoo sometime?
As I just mentioned earlier, yeah, I really wanted to get it sometime, but some days, but I kind of was scary of regretting it, but I think I will start with tattoo sticker if I really want it, and then I'll move on with the ink maybe.
And there's also options like henna.
Yeah.
Yes, henna actually, it only lasts about 2 weeks, so you can try it out, and maybe if you want a certain design, try it out with henna first and then move into it. But there's also these tattoo printers. I don't know if you've seen them.
What is this?
So you can kind of paste it onto your skin, and it's basically like printing a tattoo on. It's like a tattoo sticker, but it won't last forever. But I think that's a creative way to do things, enjoy it for festivals maybe. Yeah.
It is definitely, yeah.
So do you know any of like other tattoo artists or like anyone in this industry?
Well, I do, but I think they just promote themselves on social media up until now. Now that it's legalized, I don't know how they'll go on from here, but there's definitely many talented tattoo artists here in Korea that have been around for a long time. And I want to particularly highlight some of the people that have very traditional Korean art art merged into tattoos, and I think those are very unique and beautiful, specifically here to Korea. And I don't think I should mention one specific one on air, but yeah.
I feel like I definitely, like you said before, we'll see more of that on media as well, more social media as well. So while tattoos remain a decisive topic for some, with the legalization of tattooing growing acceptance among younger generations, tattoos in Korea are starting to be seen not as a source of controversy, but as a celebration of individuality and creativity. Still, the debate is far from over. As Korean society continues to balance tradition with modern values, new controversies would probably emerge, such as broadcasting restrictions that require celebrities to cover their tattoos on TV. But with so many talented and artistically driven tattooists in Korea, we may soon see more of them taking their craft beyond borders, sharing their creativity with the world and redefining what Korean tattoo culture represents on the global stage. And this brings us to the end of today's episode of News Generation, but News Gen will be back tomorrow at 10:30 a.m. Korea time. Big thanks to Niall.
No problem.
And also Moonju.
Thanks for having me today.
Thanks for coming in. And to all our viewers, thank you so much for watching. We hope you have the best day. We are
News Generation.
갈까요?
갈까요?
갈까요? 갈까요?
어디 가요?
한글 만나러!
Yeah, we got those tropical notes. I've been studying Seoul for over a decade and searching for the perfect pairings. Now, this is one of my favorites. My name is Dustin Wessa. I'm a traditional Korean alcohol sommelier, and this is my place. One of my hobbies is foraging. I was up in the mountain and I was searching for wild ingredients, and there's this dodok, so I dug some up. Dodok is really earthy. It's savory. There's a lot of complexity there, but it has a bit of bitterness. In order to get rid of this, you're going to salt water for about 10 minutes. So that's going to remove a bit of the bitterness. It's going to season it just a tad, and it's going to make it easier to flatten out when you take the side of your knife and tap it down or roll it out.